race fans, it's Taylor and welcome to Above the Line, the show where we talk all about the NASCAR Cup Series. And if you haven't seen Above the Line before, welcome! And we are so glad you're here. I'm very excited for this first episode on the Toby Christie channel. And for this episode, we're going to be recapping the Blue Emu Maximum Pain Relief 400 from Martinsville. Then we're going to preview the next race, the Food City Dirt Race at Bristol. So without further ado, let's get to our finishing results from Martinsville. It started off as a Chase Elliott type of day, dominating stage 1, dominating stage 2, and then of course going into stage 3, the pit stop, lost track position. That's where William Byron snuck in and rode into the sunset, winning the race. Not only was this win number 2 for William Byron this season, but this was also a really big milestone for Hendrick Motorsports, hitting 10,000 laps led at Martinsville, which is absolutely insane. And they not only did they hit that milestone, they exceeded it. They led 397 out of the 400 laps at Saturday's race. So very impressive from Hendrick Motorsports overall, and William Byron, your winner. Now going to the rest of the top 10, in second place was Joey Logano. He had a really solid car near the end of the stage and was able to propel himself way to the front of the field. Nevertheless, P2 finished for Joey Logano. Then in P3 is Austin Dillon. Now let's talk about that for a second. I did not expect Austin Dillon to do this well at Martinsville. Not only does he usually finish outside the top 10 usually at this track, but he had a really solid showing. This is actually his best finish at the track, so not only a good day for RCR, but a really good solid day for Austin Dillon as well. Then going into P4, we have Ryan Blaney, another strong car for him, but not able to close it out. In 5th place, we have Ross Chastain with another strong finish for Trackhouse Racing. Then we have Kurt Busch scoring his 4th top 10 of the season and the 5th top 10 for 2311 Racing as a whole this season. Right behind him in P7 is brother Kyle Busch. Then in 8th was Eric Almirola, and P9 was Briscoe. SHR as a whole has been pretty strong this season so far. Really impressed by what I'm seeing, and also really good to see a strong showing from them at Martinsville as well. Then rounding out the top 10 is Chase Elliott. Like I said, really dominant stage 1 and stage 2 for Chase Elliott, but then going into stage 3, of course, that pit stop did not do him any favors, lost him one spot in track position, but lost him the race. Now, I also mentioned this on my older videos on the Above the Line homepage, but I'm a little perplexed as to what's happening to that 9 team right now. First off, one of the cautions near the end of the race, I believe it was for Denny Hamlin or debris on the track, Alan Gustafson, his crew chief, said, "Hey Chase, we're going to call you in from P4. And I'm like, why would you call him in when he's in 4th place? Went back on the track in P12 or 13, ended up finishing inside the top 10, but still, you had him on track for a top 5 finish, and you lost it. So I don't understand that call, and that's part of my problem with the 9 team. Inconsistent calls. I don't know if they're trying to go off pace of what everyone else is doing, but it's all the what could have been, what ifs, what could have happened if the call was right, if the pit crew was on par, if Chase Elliott didn't make mistakes. The team has been complacent with mistakes, is at least what I've seen the past few seasons, and it's lost him a lot of races. So I would like to see consistency from the team. I don't know what they need to change up, if they need to be changing up practices at the shop. I honestly don't know. They need to just go back to the drawing board, in my opinion. Now we gotta look outside the top 10 at our other key players. We're talking about 2 guys here from Joe Gibbs Racing. Martin Truex Jr. finishing in P22 and Denny Hamlin finishing in 28th. They were great at Richmond. Denny Hamlin won. Martin Truex Jr. in P4 in that race. I do not know what happened when it goes to Martinsville. It's their wheelhouse, so I don't understand why they didn't do well at all. So they missed the mark. Hopefully they can figure it out when we go back to Martinsville later in the season, but my goodness, I was very disappointed, and so was my fantasy lineup, to be honest. Now that we've gone into our results, it's time to award the most famous award in all of motorsports. It's the Above the Line LVP and MVP awards. This week, I usually try to award it to one guy for each award, but I just couldn't this week. So for the LVPs, I just mentioned them there. Martin Truex Jr. and Denny Hamlin, also going to add Chase Elliott to the mix. He had the race in the palm of his hands and lost it in stage 3's pit stop. So those are my LVPs of the week. Now for the MVP. I think it's very well deserved, getting his best finish at Martinsville. Also a really good showing, like I said, for RCR. Austin Dillon, congratulations. You are the winner of the MVP of the Week award. An honorable mention, obviously, getting his 2nd win of the season, William Byron, not only with his mom at the track, which was super awesome, but also the first driver as a whole to get a 2nd win. So congrats to William Byron for being our honorable mention, and to Austin Dillon for being this week's MVP. So those are the results from Saturday night. Now it's time to go into a segment I call Down the Line, where we look at key moments from this weekend to break down. And this isn't even from Saturday night's race. This is from Friday's night's race with the Xfinity Series. Now, I know this topic might be talked about already a lot, but I'm bringing this up again and sharing my opinions, and I obviously want to hear your opinions about the Ty Gibbs and Sam Mayer fight, because we might be hearing a decision Tuesday about what disciplinary actions might be happening. So if you didn't see the Xfinity race, and maybe if you did, I'm going to recap it very briefly as to what happened in the final overtime of the race leading to the pit road confrontation. It is very important to note that Ty Gibbs and Sam Mayer were fighting for Dash for Cash wins, really big paychecks for their teams. With that in mind, though, let's go into the final turn of the overtime of the Xfinity race. At this point, it's pretty clear that Brandon Jones is going to win the race, so it's between Ty Gibbs, Sam Mayer, and probably AJ Allmendinger. Sam Mayer sandwiches his way in between the two, then going to the checkered flag. I'm pretty sure Sam's thinking to himself, you know what, Ty, you've raced people pretty rough this season. I feel okay racing you the same way, and kind of bumps him out of the way, and, things happen. So that happens. Clearly, both of them don't win the race, but then we go to pit road, and this is where things get a little dicey. Now, I don't know when this happens, but as we see the shot on pit road, Ty Gibbs' hood is clearly dented in, so I'm pretty sure he put the front of his car into the back of Sam Mayer's car at some point getting to the pit road spots. Then Ty Gibbs steps out of the car, goes to Sam Mayer, kind of shoves him, kind of like, bro, what the heck? Then he walks away. Sam Mayer follows him and is like, bro, take your helmet off. And then Sam takes his helmet off, Ty Gibbs doesn't, and then there's fighting. So here's where I see things going horribly wrong from that point on. Here's my take. Ty Gibbs, really talented, really aggressive, not making a lot of friends. First off, did not take his helmet off when he went to throw punches. That is a big no-no. Sam Mayer had his helmet off, was ready to go. That's just not okay. It's a racing rule we all kind of know about in our eyes. You keep the helmet off if you're going to throw punches. So that's issue number one. Issue number two, the big thing, a NASCAR official was actually injured during all of this, trying to break up the fight. Sam Mayer did issue an apology on Instagram, but just the whole issue was insane. I know Sam kind of pushed the issue when he went back up to Ty after Ty walked away, and I understand that, I really do, but I see the issue being with Ty Gibbs. If you're gonna race people really rough, expect the same in return, and if you can't, then stop. Ty also has a really big reputation to uphold, and with his grandpa at the track, I don't know how he felt about it. I'm hoping maybe that there's some disciplinary action being given out by Joe Gibbs himself about this issue, but that's a really big oversight on Ty Gibbs' part to kind of check out a little bit from, his reputation, his talent and all that stuff, and throw those punches like that. I just think that was really immature, a little unprofessional, and sure, if you need to let out some anger, let it out. The way it happened, though, I just don't agree with it at all. So I'm hoping Ty can learn from this, and this will be kind of a point to kind of keep him in check, kind of review and reflect a little bit, and go forward with a little bit more maturity in the Xfinity Series. But this could be an impact on his playoff standings. This could be an impact on being a championship driver this season. So we'll have to see on Tuesday if anything comes from this. So we'll stay tuned. So that was my take on Friday night's action. Now it's time to do one of my favorite segments on the show, rating this race above or below the yellow line. Here's how it works. On the line is a 50%. We rate this 0 out of 100. And 50% means this was just like a subpar race. We want to be above the yellow line. That's what we want if we have a good race. Below the yellow line means this race sucked. And I will tell you ahead of time, that was the consensus for this race. Here's what you had to say on a Twitter poll. Now, 4.2. Only 4.2% of you said this race was great. 9.6% said good. 19.8% said okay. And an overwhelming majority of you, 66.5%, said this race was meh. I know a lot of you really wanted a bad option on this poll. I thought that was a little harsh, but I probably should have for this one. Regardless, here is what you had to say on that post. Brandon said, very boring compared to most in the past. No bumping, even in the back, it seemed like. I think they may have to look at making the change to the short track package after back-to-back less than stellar short track races. Melissa said, absolute snooze fest. No real action on track all night, no passing, and one caution for incident that we didn't even see on broadcast. Big fan of what the next-gen car is doing for 1.5s, but if this is what it's going to do to short track racing, take it back. Daniel said, worst race of the year, not enough passing or racing for the lead. Starting to become obvious that the next-gen car doesn't race well at short tracks so far. Ben said, I hate to say it, but that was worse than meh. Very lackluster by Martinsville standards. Seems like they've got some work to do with the next-gen car on short tracks. And then Carjack said, cold temperatures and no track tire buildup at both Richmond and Martinsville. Way too early to assess whether the new car is a good short track car or not. First off, thanks for all your comments on the post. I really appreciate that. A record 167 of you participated in the Twitter poll, so keep commenting, keep doing that with the polls. Thank you so much. I gotta address Carjack's comment, though. No, and yes, agree with it a little bit. Yes, I do think it's maybe a little bit too early to tell what these next-gen cars can do on short tracks. Of course, the cold weather, like he mentioned, really affected rubber buildup on the track. It also affected, even the rain affected how much rubber was on the track to begin with. So that was an issue, but also at the same time, we saw the same issues back to back, Richmond and Martinsville. So that's where I'm panicking, but I'm also hoping that in the future, when we get to these tracks in the fall and summer, that things are going to look much better. Now for my race rating. I was a little harsh on this one, and maybe I'm justified in this. Originally, I gave it a 25%. I originally did. Then I looked back and I was like, I can't do this to Martinsville, because here's my thing. Martinsville is my favorite track, so I was so freaking disappointed when this race sucked, and it was a snooze fest, like some of you guys said. So I gave this race a 30% out of 100, definitely below the yellow line. And I do kind of feel justified in that, because even Ryan Blaney said in a post-race interview that he was disappointed with the lack of passing just as much as I was too, and that a lot of it probably had to do with the weather. And as soon as you got to a guy, you stalled out. So a NASCAR probably needs to look at the short track package, but I'm willing to give it one more race on a short track, on a real short track, not Bristol Dirt, to see if we really need to make some changes. Maybe some more horsepower would be really nice, but yeah, this race sucked. Alrighty, so that is your recap of the race at Martinsville. Now it's time to go into the Food City Dirt preview, starting with your track facts. The track length is 0.533 miles. The race length is 250 laps, or 133.25 miles. Stage 1 is 75 laps, so is Stage 2, and the final stage is 100 laps. Now it's time to line up your odds for this weekend, giving you the driver stats, so maybe you know who to put in your fantasy lineup, maybe not. Now, this is going to obviously be pretty self-explanatory, because we've only had one race on the Bristol Dirt, and that was won by Joey Logano. So you're going to see here Joey Logano, Team Penske, and Ford with all your driver stats for this race. With that said, let's go into our final segment of the episode called To Watch, To Worry. Self-explanatory. I'm going to pick two guys, maybe even a team that I need to watch this weekend that I think is going to do well, and then a driver or a team that I really need to worry about this weekend that maybe might not do so hot. So like I said earlier, I like to start with the negatives. So let's start with the negatives here with our To Worry. First guy to worry about, maybe a shocker to you guys, but I'm going to be worried about Larson. I know last time we went to Bristol Dirt, he wrecked himself out with Christopher Bell as they were fighting for the lead. Christopher Bell went a little too high. We all knew that was a little bit dangerous. Regardless, nevertheless, took Larson out in the process. But even then, Larson has kind of had a subpar season. I know he has a win, but then yet again, he's had a lot of finishes outside the top 20, which is just not heard of for Kyle Larson, especially after last season. So gonna be worried to see if he can do better on dirt, which he's more comfortable with, and seeing how he does in this next-gen car. Now, I will say, there's a little bit of promise. I know NASCAR's gone to work with the next-gen car on dirt. I know they've gone to work on the dirt track. First off, the dirt race being at night is very good, so hopefully we'll have some less dust on the track and kind of blowing up in the driver's faces. So hoping this is good for Larson. Another driver I'm going to be worried about is Aric Almirola. Now I'm going to be worried about him for the opposite reason I'm worried about Kyle Larson, because he's been doing well this season. I believe he has, 4 top 10s, 1 top 5? Unlike last year, very good for Almirola, and I know last year he wrecked out of the Bristol Dirt race, but maybe he can continue to do well. Maybe he's figured something out in the offseason, I don't know. But I will be worried about Almirola to see if he can keep up his really good stats. Finally, finishing off with my two watch drivers here. Now, one is obvious, Joey Logano. Can he go back-to-back at Bristol Dirt? Can he still do as well as he did last year with this Gen 7 car? And then I'm going to be watching Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finish in P2 last time we were at the track. And I think it'd be really good for him to have a good day, not only maybe get some stage points, but just do really, really well for his team. So I'm also going to be looking at Ricky Stenhouse Jr. as my driver to watch. So who are your to watch and to worry, and what do you think of the Ty Gibbs and Say Mara incident? Let me know in the comments below, and with that, we are done with this episode of Above the Yellow Line, the show where we talk all about the NASCAR Cup Series. For more great content from us, make sure you follow our social media pages. _TaylorKitchen_ on Twitter for race day polls, daily questions, updates, and more. Also follow our Above the Yellow Line Instagram and YouTube page for updates on when we post behind the scenes and teasers to our latest content. Of course, also follow TobyChristie.com on YouTube and on social media platforms, and check out TobyChristie.com's website for more great motorsports content. All linked in the description below. Also, this Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, make sure to check out our live stream on this channel. We'll be doing kind of a Q&A, getting to know me, some of the Above the Yellow Line team, also be ranking tier lists. So make sure if you have any suggestions for tier lists, put those in the comments below as well. Before you do that, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this with your friends and family, and guys, thank you so much for watching Above the Line, and until next time, I'll see ya.